Hey everybody, Mike here. Welcome to the channel. Well, today we're going to be talking about knives and more specifically my personal considerations in what I look at when I decide to buy one, right? And it might surprise you quite a bit, so check out the video. Alright guys, well here's a small selection of my knife collection, and already you will notice that they're all different sorts and sizes and shapes and whatnot, right? Now, that doesn't mean anything per se, because there might be good reasoning why I bought each one of these. Now, I can tell you this though, there is kind of a two-legged approach here. One is subjective and the other is objective. Subjective approach is something that you can't measure, like I think it's cool, I like it, it looks nice, etc. Buying a knife for those reasons is fine, and a lot of people do that. I would almost say the majority of people do that, right? So you're in a store, you see a knife, you want it, you saw it on YouTube, you saw it on wherever, you want it, you can afford it, you buy it, great. And if it makes you happy, good luck to you. Now, that's the subjective part, because nobody can tell you you are right or wrong in doing so. Now, the objective part of why you would buy a knife is to look at it as a tool for what it's supposed to do, okay? Now, if it's supposed to be an outdoor knife, then you have a pretty good idea, I hope, what you can use it for. Now, if I look at this tiny little buck knife, right, or I look at this Becker BK2, huge difference, but they both have a very good reason to be bought, at least for me anyway. Yeah, so let's forget about the subjective part about cool, pretty and all that, and let's look at the objective part. Now it all starts with functional requirements. Now what does that mean? Functional means function only. So not how long is the knife, how heavy is the knife, none of that. Function means it needs to be able to baton a piece of wood. It needs to be able to cut a fire stick. It needs to be able to, I don't know, make traps, whatever. It needs to be able to peel fruit. So these are purely functional requirements. Now, if you plot that in a circle, then every knife that has those functional elements will be in that circle, right? Okay, now we look at the technical specifications. So what technical specification should a knife have to be able to do these functions? Now, and if these two overlap, then in that overlapping area, there is the knife you want, right? Now, the third element that we put aside, the subjective one, is, what's my budget? Do I like it? Is it cool? If these three meet each other, then that's the area where you would pick your knife. Now, why is it then that it usually doesn't go that way? Well, it's a thing called a theory of constraints. And I don't want to make it really complicated, but it goes something like this. Let's say I wake up one morning and I got some money burning a hole in my pocket and I want to buy a knife, right? So I go in line and I type in outdoor knife and I see a whole bunch of knives, right? And I look at some reviews on YouTube, I don't know, but I kind of decide, well, it's way cooler to go to an actual physical store and kind of smell the atmosphere and see the knives in person and hold it and feel it, right? So I'm going to do that instead. Now, what I just did is I kind of I took a circle and I put it around me, meaning that I eliminated everything online at that point and I narrowed it down based on a physical store in my neighborhood. So if they have 100 knives, 100 different knives, chances are I'm going to buy one of these 100 different knives. And the reason I'm doing so is because that's all they got, not because that is what I need or want. So I'm going to kind of take that selection that I want based on what they're presenting to me. And it goes kind of downhill from there, because the person right there is going to say, well, listen, that knife, will take 2 weeks until it's in stock. That knife we have in stock. right? That maybe influence you to not want to wait 2 weeks and to go with the other one. Again, these are all criteria that have nothing to do with functional or technical. Now, the thing is, if you, God forbid, ever get caught, stranded in the Amazon with a knife that looks pretty, but other than that, it's a piece of crap, then you are in big trouble, right? So you kind of need to separate knives between knives that are pretty and cool and nice and knives that will do the job. That's kind of my point here, right? So the theory of constraint can be approached in another way, and that's how I approach buying a knife. What you need to do is, well, what I do anyway, is you write down your functional specifications. Okay, I want a knife that can do this, that, so on, so forth, so on. Couple of things you need to consider. Am I going to be using the knife in an environment where there's a lot of salt, like salt water, I don't know, on a boat, whatever, because that will affect your choice in maybe going for stainless steel because you don't want your knife to rust, right? Is it critical that your knife always stays extremely sharp? Now, a high carbon content, I mean, every blade has carbon in it, but a high carbon level in a steel blade will make the edge stay sharp longer. Downside is it makes the blade more brittle, so there's more chance of it breaking, right? Now, for example, if you have a kitchen knife that's cutting vegetables or whatever, the chances of that knife breaking aren't that large. But if you're batoning wood, absolutely, right? So that's another consideration. So high carbon versus low carbon. Is the knife going to take a lot of abuse? Full tang or not full tang? And if you don't know what full tang means, here's this Becker BK2, and you can see that this blade runs all the way through the handle and all the way back to the pommel here. So this is a full tang knife, right? Makes it very strong, can take a lot of beating. All right. So you write down the functional specification that you want. It needs to be able to do this, that, so on and so forth. And that may have you end up with one knife or maybe more than one. I can have an Opinel knife, right, to cut my fruit and to prepare food while in camp. And I can have my Becker here for processing wood, right? Nothing wrong with that. So you write all of that stuff down, and then you say, okay, what requirements do I have based on my functional requirement? All right, well, I need a full tang, I need some body weight to it, and so forth. Then you look at which knives meet that criteria. Okay, well, the Becker BK2, for example. All right, and then next step is, where can I get one? And I know this may be a more boring process, but it gives you a much reliable choice in knives. And at the end of the day, you want gear that you can rely on, right? Can you still buy knives on occasion just for the heck of it because you think they're pretty? Absolutely. I mean, I bought this thing, which is, it's handmade. It's a Navajo knife. It's handmade, and I just fell in love with it. And I'm probably never going to use it, but I just love looking at it, right? Alrighty, so that's kind of my approach, guys. Yeah, that's all I wanted to share with you today. So hopefully you guys had some benefit from this video. Let me know if you got any questions about knives. And that said, thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye.